Every act of creation occurs in the middle of things. This is what my act of creation has produced. A crime scene. A burned apartment, a dead man, and 2 investigators. Adam's throat is rusted. Eve has an ashen power. What do you think? She asks. No idea. Adam's a true skeptic, totally balanced out by suspended beliefs. Eve's given up believing. You been sleeping? Eve asks him. Woke up this morning like I'd been sleeping for an eternity, and still didn't feel rested. You look like shit, Adam, Eve says, her sympathy wrapped up in old newspaper. You get some more rest. I'll handle this. You sure? Adam asks. Eve nods and Adam leaves, despite knowing there's no amount of sleep that will get him rested. Eve, meanwhile, interviews the firefighters, who told her someone else got hurt real bad in the adjacent room. They don't know what happened either. It's like nothing they've ever seen. Eve gets in the car to go interview the victim's parents. You see, what we know as fire is to them, my creations, some kind of supernatural negation. When this incident here got called in, they sent the fire department. What else could they do? What do they know of the transcendental? This world has 3 elements: the ground, the air, and cardboard. Which, as you can see, is the mixing of air and ground. You might ask whether light is an element. It is not. I can demonstrate through a simple proof. An element in this world is something that needs light to be seen. That's just in the definition. So if light needed light to be seen, then that light would also need light to be seen, and so on to infinity. So light is not an element. It is, we might say, divine, as is fire. Eve visits the parents, who have already been notified of the incident. The father is just swollen surface tension of tears. Mother is dead-eyed and won't process this for another year at least, so Eve addresses the questions to her. They hadn't talked with him in about a month. Never got around to calling. Dad chokes up when she mentions that. She doesn't remember him going out much. Spent all his time writing a book called The Man in the Cell. Eve asks if he kept it with him. Mom thinks he might have sent it to a bookstore called Gabriel's Books, where a friend worked. Eve heads to the bookstore and on the way decides to stop for breakfast. Breakfast. The stomach is the reason that man does not take himself so easily for a god. That happens now and again. It drops me into a dark age, blinds me like ancient nightfall. The time given over to the imagination. Of course, I have given all my time to the imagination. They usually come back on, though one of these days I'm sure they won't. On his way home, Adam changes his mind and decides to visit the other victim at the hospital. The burned man asks, "He didn't make it, did he?" "No," says Adam. "Couldn't have," says the burned man. What do you mean? Whatever that was that swallowed up the apartment, never seen anything like it. What did it look like? Look? He asks. Look doesn't cut it. It's like everything was lifted beyond its limits. Everything was shining, then shivering, then tearing open, and disappearing. Like nothing I've ever known. You knew the deceased. I knew the living. How well? Sometimes we'd talk and he'd tell me about his weird ideas. Like what? He'd call his room the cell. I thought he meant a prison cell. Then he'd say, I'm writing up some DNA. Guess whose DNA it is? And, says Adam. That was it. He'd give me this weird smile. Didn't see him much the last month, though. He go out much? Don't think so. Kept hearing this pounding at his door, really late. No idea what it was about. And those weird ideas? Think he sent his book to a bookstore. See for yourself. To think humans thought they needed more than books. Nesting dolls of infinity. Text within text, the inner going within, self-sufficiency, autophagy, the self-cannibalizing and becoming itself, never an outward movement. Adam finds the place torched. Of course. Must be a virus, Adam says, wryly. Blowing up the DNA. He calls Eve. She answers. Lost the lead, he says. Well, I found one. A book the victim wrote. Where'd you find it? Gabriel's books. That's not good, he thinks. Meet me at the station, she says, and hangs up. Adam can't reach her again. Something is a step ahead of him and one step right behind her. It isn't going to let this mystery be solved. Do you think it's me? Would I do this to my creations? Or let it happen if I could stop it? Adam drives to meet her, to save her. Meanwhile, Eve enters the dark police station, suspiciously empty. In the single light overhead, surrounded by shadows, she starts to read. This is our paradise regained, discovered in the stone and brush, by wrath untouched, by blood unstained. We spend our days in cultivation, rewarding our tools' caresses. Earth reveals our emanation. The bloom of the holy garden has written in seed, now performed, the silent voice now unhidden. The ocean reaches to touch it, heaving beyond its bounds to brush the glowing children of spirit. We fear not the delicacy of our cosmos' living forces balancing themselves endlessly. 3 orbits, ocean, plant, and man, at the center standing tall our monastery, humble and grand. Earth and vessel, earth exceeding, wind inspired and fire warming, veins, stones, joyous echoes bleeding. In rest from work we would repair to our candled star chambers with verses sweet, profound to share. Then sup to feed an appetite beyond ourselves, in heaven's depth, filling whole but making light. Until that jealous sea and darkness cast invaders upon our shore, to vent their urge for avarice. Bring flames to tyrannize our isle, dissolve every bond and body, the rest left to steal or defile. I alone, an amputation, fled to the cellar and cowered beneath my home's live cremation. Until ashes muted all above, and all becomes a lonely one, no more to feel the brother's love. For what am I condemned to hell? Reduced to thought thinking itself, the song of the man in the cell.
Someone's in there?
Yeah.
You okay?
I don't know.
Thought it was condemned. Cops raided the place and forced everybody out last year, right?
Someone must have hid away. I'd see lights on. I knocked on the door now and then to offer the guy help. Never answered.
One of those New Age communities, right? Squatters or something?
Something like that. Good people. I met him once or twice.
Is he...
Looks alive. Hey, buddy. No, just take it easy.